sports. A bridge that brings people together. And here in the Commonwealth, it's no different. From the gridiron to the hardwood and beyond, we all have a team we love to talk about. Now for the teams you care about, here's Heartland Sports Live with Trevor Rice.
And welcome into Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio 1400 AM. We are also live streaming this hour on ESPN Radio 1061.com. Trevor Rice hanging out with you. And this is the best time of the year sports-wise, or one of the best, I would have to say. Playoff baseball, NHL has started back up, NFL football, college, high school football, all still going on. And before you know it, we're going to be starting up the college and NBA seasons as well. College basketball and NBA seasons. It's going to be a beautiful thing. So I would say this time of year, it could be hands down one of the best in all of sports. And then, of course, we're coming up to the final few races of the NASCAR season as well, if you enjoy some racing, which I do. So I will be watching the remaining races. I'm just saying. Well, let's talk about some things that have happened over the last few days. High school football on Friday. We will talk about that in segment 2. Believe me, we are going to talk about that and how much love Central, Hardin, North Hardin, and some of our area teams are not getting any love from the cities. Let's just say that they're not getting any love. Nobody's talking about them. Yeah, they're getting ranked as such, but nobody talks about them. Central Hardin destroying Butler Thursday night in a big-time matchup between two top 10 teams. North Hardin taking care of business once again against Meade County on Friday night. Elizabethtown and John Hardin coming off a bye week, so what are they going to look like? Of course, John Hardin coming off of a victory in district play a couple of Fridays ago. E-Town has looked good so far. We'll talk about Fort Knox this hour as well, and whatever else comes to mind. LaRue County in there coming up next segment. So stay tuned for that if you're looking for the high school football talk, because we are going to discuss that as the month of October has some good matchups for us here on 106.1 ESPN Radio. And again, we'll talk about that coming up in segment 2. I'm going to reserve this segment, though. Let's talk pro football. We'll get into college football this hour as well. Western Kentucky, they'll play Army this Saturday night, in which that's a game that I'm going to try to get down to because I would really like to see that game, even though Army, I think, is coming off of a loss this past weekend. Still a game I want to see because I have a feeling there's going to be a great atmosphere down in Bowling Green this Saturday night. So hopefully I can make it to that game. Still waiting on a credential, but we'll try to get there, people. I'll try to snap a couple of photos while I'm there as well. So be looking out for that. Which you can follow me on social media at Radio Trevor Rice on Twitter, Trevor Rice on -air, like me on Facebook as well. Pro football yesterday, I got to say, people, outside of my fantasy football team, which did phenomenal, I put up 192 points. Some of the area football teams here, we're talking the Bengals, the Tennessee Titans. If you're a Colts fan today, you're feeling pretty good. The way that they limited that Chiefs offense last night, pretty impressive. Colts defense showing up, helping that team to win. 19-13, I think was the final score. So the Colts picking up they're like 2-2. I think they're 3-2 now, surprisingly. You thought losing Andrew Luck was going to, cost this team any chance of being relevant. No, that's not the case at all. Jacoby Brissett, who once played for Bill Belichick, is showing that, hey, he could do something as well. Let's talk about one team just south of here, about 2 hours from E-Town. The Tennessee Titans. A team that, if you are a fan, you get frustrated. You're not going to tell me you get frustrated. Okay, maybe you will tell me you get frustrated. I get frustrated in watching this team. week in and week out. Because one week they show, there's a glimpse there of what this team can be. And then they go back. Like they just regress the following week. And this case, and I mean, the Buffalo Bills, they're no pushover. I mean, they are 4-1. I think that's the record now, 4-1 after defeating the Titans yesterday. The only loss coming to New England, which was only by 6 points a week ago. So, I mean, Buffalo is good. But I heard Bills fans making as much noise as Titans fans yesterday in Nashville, which is very concerning. I don't know where this team is moving forward. I don't know. I almost feel like they may need to look at somebody else at quarterback in an upcoming draft. Mariota has not been consistent. Maybe an offensive coordinator. They need to get somebody in who has an offensive mind, because you can't go and have that many trips into Buffalo territory and come away with trying to kick field goals. It was Cairo Santos today, feeling like garbage. Monday's already bad as it is, but when you miss 4 field goals in a single game, you feel like absolute trash. You may as well be sponsored by Waste Management. Santos missing 4 field goals, not a very popular guy today, even though Mike Vrabel after the game is showing support for him. And many fans asking the question, why would you send him out there to kick a 4th field goal after he had missed the previous 3? Well, apparently Vrabel had trust in Santos to try to make a field goal, which wasn't happening, by the way, yesterday. Wishful thinking on his part. But I mean, you make those 4 field goals, and we're not talking about a Titans loss today, because they would have had 12 points, or even if he made 3 out of 4, they would have won. I'm just saying, they would have won 16-14, but instead they lose 14-7 to a Buffalo Bills team who they have it defensively. They're one of the best defensive units in the National Football League. So they come away with a victory, 14-7. The Buffalo Bills do. The Titans drop to once again below 5. Were they 500? I think they're 2-3 now after the loss yesterday. I don't know. Corey Davis one week has a big week, then he becomes, let's be honest, irrelevant the next. And it really sucks. If you're a Titans fan, us being Titans affiliates, we want to see this team do some strong things every week. Unfortunately, though, it's not happening right now. Another team in the area that, let's be honest, is not good. People may throw them into the garbage can at this point. The Cincinnati Bengals, who after yesterday are now 0-5. Who are they in company with? The New York Jets, who, by the way, don't have an offense at all. In fact, I would put them at the bottom of the garbage can. The Miami Dolphins, who have not looked good. I think they were thankful to have a bye week this week. They're right there. I mean, you could throw them in the bottom of the trash can as well. And the Bengals, who you would think would, be all right having a veteran quarterback in Andy Dalton. Well, apparently they're not. And if I'm a Bengals fan, I am mad. I'm not happy right now. In fact, Dre Kirkpatrick went on to say that this is the most frustrated he's been as a Bengals player. Which, being a Bengals player in general, would make you pretty frustrated with the way this team has performed over the last several seasons. But for him to go on record and say that this has been the most frustrated he's been as a Bengals player, I mean, they got a new coach in Zach Taylor. Which, I mean, he can be an offensive mind. you have a veteran quarterback in Andy Dalton who over the years has not proven to be, an elite quarterback, but I mean, he's middle of the road. He can game manage, you think, a little bit and help you win. Which, if I'm Zach Taylor, I'm looking at a new quarterback. If this trend continues, maybe they're trying to tank. Maybe Zach Taylor's trying to tank right now so that he can just get rid of Andy Dalton. Because let's be honest, you think of Andy Dalton, you think of Marvin Lewis, and maybe you just want to get rid of that losing way altogether. So you're just looking for somebody else in general at this point. So where would the Bengals turn? Well, if they continue this trend of not winning, they're going to have a pretty good shot of landing somebody pretty good in next year's draft. We'll have to find out who some of the top players will be for these teams to kind of go through and pick who's going to fit their roster. But the Bengals, also like the Tennessee Titans now on this Monday, not looking good. And Bengals fans, much like Browns fans have over the years, probably getting ready to show up to the games with paper bags over their head. One team, though, in the area that did not look like a total garbage can out on the field was the Indianapolis Colts yesterday. And the Indianapolis Colts last night, I should say, winning 19-13 over the Kansas City Chiefs and looking good defensively. With the win, they're over the 500 mark. They're 3-2, giving Kansas City their first loss in Arrowhead Stadium. So that's pretty impressive, right? They didn't need to do anything flashy offensively. They didn't need Jacoby Brissett to do anything amazing. He just needed to manage the game and make some plays to help extend drives and help that team. And how about Adam Vinatieri, who a lot of people were writing off there a few weeks ago after he got off to a slow start, missing a bunch of field goals, missing some extra points. Now he's one of the most accurate kickers at this point right now. So the Colts winning 19-13, and all thanks to that defense, which you knew was going to be good coming into the 2019 season as it is, in which a lot of people put the Indianapolis Colts as one of those top three teams in the AFC. Had Andrew Luck come back this year and not retired before the beginning of the season, I think many people had this Colts team as a top three AFC team, right behind the Patriots and the Chiefs. In which now they're showing they can beat the Chiefs. Which if you beat the Chiefs in the regular season right now, that's a sign that you're relevant to begin with. On top of doing it on the road, which is more impressive. That crowd, loudest crowd in the National Football League. So when you're able to do it on the road in a tough atmosphere on a Sunday night, makes it that much more impressive. And maybe the Colts are onto something. Do you get to the Super Bowl, though, with Jacoby Brissett? I mean, yes, he was a backup quarterback to Tom Brady at one point. So, I mean, he did learn a lot. But does this Colts team look to get to a championship with Jacoby Brissett? We'll have to see. I mean, obviously, time will play itself out. I don't know. Personally, I don't see the Colts going all the way because I think they're going to stumble at some point. But, I mean, the AFC South right now is wide open with the Jaguars depending on a quarterback with a mustache and Gardner Minshew. With the Texans being up and down right now, they haven't been able to protect their quarterback, Deshaun Watson, who, by the way, I have him on my fantasy football team, put up 51 points for me yesterday. So I got to say, Deshaun, thank you. You did a heck of a job yesterday. But you're also in a division with the Tennessee Titans, who they don't have a true identity offensively. They are a train wreck Mike Vrabel needs to figure. I know Mike Vrabel. He played on the defensive side. He was a linebacker for Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, and he just knows that side of the football. But he has got to get an offensive mind over there as a coordinator, and he needs to. I'm telling you, I know Mariota is well liked in Nashville, but is he a long-term quarterback for the Titans with Mike Vrabel's system? I just don't know. I don't know if I can answer that with a yes. Now, Mike Vrabel is one of those guys, since he was a player, I think he can connect with the players a little easier than, maybe a coach who didn't, for example, play. But I think if you're Mike Vrabel, you might have to look at moving on. Well, this is Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM this afternoon, and we are live streaming on ESPN Radio 1061.com. Let's talk high school football this hour. We're going to talk some college football this hour, as well as Western Kentucky will be in action this weekend. Kentucky will be back off the bye week, so we'll see if they can get into maybe a string of wins coming up, you would hope. The Wildcats finding themselves at 2-3. We'll talk about Louisville's win against Boston College on Saturday, 41-39. We'll talk about that game later on. High school football in the next segment. We are going to get into a big showdown that's coming up this month between Central Hardin and North Hardin. Both teams looking really good. Elizabethtown's looking good. Of course, they're coming off of a bye week. John Hardin, can they keep rolling in district play now that they're coming off of their second victory of the season 2 Fridays ago? They're coming off of a bye week as well. We'll talk Fort Knox, LaRue County. Meade County's a hot mess with their quarterback situation, much like Central was a year ago. We'll get into that and much more. This is Heartland Sports Live, and of course, we are presented by, once again, CC Power Sports this month. Exit 121 just south of the Snyder at Brooks Road off I-65. Get your hands on a new or pre-owned Suzuki ATV, motorcycle, or scooter while the deals are hot. CC Power Sports, a short drive up I-65 in Shepherdsville. More Heartland Sports Live continues after this. We're on 106.1 ESPN Radio.
This is Rick Walters with the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame, and you're listening to Heartland Sports live on 106.1 ESPN Radio.
Glorious! No, I won't give in till I'm victorious, and I will defend.
And welcome back into Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we are live streaming on ESPN Radio 1061.com. You can go back and catch every show on the Apple Podcasts link that I have pinned to my Twitter account at Radio Trevor Rice, and go ahead and download and listen back to every show there. 100 episodes. This is the 101st episode. I did not even realize it last week. Just because I guess I've done so many of these things, you just kind of lose track at that point. 100 episodes, this the 101st, and I welcome you along for the ride. Glad everybody's been tuning in and checking out the show throughout the past, 100 episodes of existence. We have talked NFL football this hour as the Titans and the Bengals are a train wreck at this point. The Bengals more so than the Titans. The Colts looking like the best team here within a 2.5 hour radius. So Colts fans, at least you have something to cheer about this season. Let's talk about the high school football season here in Hardin County. We'll get to LaRue County and Meade County. Meade County, unfortunately, a mess like Central Hardin was a year ago at the quarterback position. We'll talk about that here shortly. Because that's never a fun one, and especially to see it happen in front of you. When you see another quarterback go down and you see somebody else have to come in and fill in the shoes like Parker did for Meade County on Friday night, man, you You don't ever want to see that. You don't want to see anybody get hurt, let alone high school kids who are out there just to have fun on a Friday night and just doing it for their school. It really sucks, but we'll talk about that here in just a moment. But first, let's begin with a team who won Friday night in our Blaine and Bird Whistle High School football game of the week. North Hardin Trojans, they are looking good at this point, not only offensively, but the defense has been very stingy. They are not allowing offenses to do much. In fact, the most points they've allowed in a single ball game in the last 5 weeks is 10, that coming to Meade County, in which they only legitimately allowed 8 because of safety happened from the special teams unit. So, I guess you could realistically say they allowed yet another single digit on the scoreboard, which, if you're keeping track at home, if you're a Trojans fan, last 5 weeks, the opposition has scored 6, 0, 7, 6, and even though Meade County had 10, we're going to say 8 because the safety is not on the defensive unit in this past week or past Friday's game. So single digits the past 5 weeks, and it's not like they were giving up a whole lot of points in the first couple of weeks. Wagner, they gave up 14, Elizabethtown 13. 2 tougher opponents. Week 1, you would expect some struggles. Elizabethtown, they are good offensively. Just ask Central Hardin how Elizabethtown is on the offensive side of the football. But now we're getting set for October 25th. North Hardin and Central Hardin. Central Hardin looking good Thursday night. Showing those Louisville schools that we know how to play ball here in Hardin County. Central Hardin and little old Cecilia, Kentucky, winning 47-22 on Thursday night over Butler, who at the time was 3-2. I think they're now 500 after the loss to Central Hardin, 3-3. We're ranked 7th in the state Thursday night. I want to say I know they were top 10, which I just want to quickly say, where's the love? Where's the talk? Nobody's talking about North Hardin. Nobody's talking about Central Hardin. They mention them, but then it immediately goes back to the city schools. And you didn't see it, but I gave air quotes because that's what I do. Central Hardin, North Hardin, still undefeated on the season, by the way, people. And I get it. So is Male. And I guess they're all right. But Hardin County in Class 6A at this point in the season has 2 undefeated teams. North Hardin, who is 7-0, they're going into a bye week this week, which the next game for them is going to be against Barron County, that's who Central plays this week. That's going to be an away contest. That will be interesting to see how that plays out, because I have a feeling that this could be a challenge. I mean, Barron County 5-1 on the year. Their one loss coming to Woodford County. So I think this is going to be a good test before these two teams meet. Each team going to play Barron County before, and then Central Hardin is going to also play. I believe they play Meade County too. They do. They play Meade County before they play North Hardin. So Central Hardin is going to have a couple of games here that they can figure things out before that North Hardin game. They play Barron County this Friday night. That game is going to be at 8 p.m. because of the Central and Eastern time zones difference, which don't get me started on that, people. I feel like we should be one time zone in this state. Why are we not one time zone? It's just throwing everybody off. In fact, if you look at it on a map and you're driving, why is it that the line between the Central and the Eastern time zone, why does it go kind of like at an angle southeastward? Makes no sense at all. We just need to be one time zone here in Kentucky. So we're all on the same page. We're not hating each other for having to drive across that line. If we have to go and have a meeting on the central time zone, we have to pretty much do the math in our head. Okay, I'm going to get back at this time. Or if you have to come up to Louisville or this area, if you're on the central time zone, okay, I'm going to be leaving at this time and getting home at this time. Why not just make it simple for ourselves and just have everybody on the same time zone? I'm just saying. It may throw some people off at first, but it will benefit us in the long run. North Hardin and Central Hardin, though, going to have a big game October 25th. That is the game we have circled on our calendar. Man, that's going to be an electrifying atmosphere. Meade County, a team that I was just talking about a moment ago, having quarterback issues, as you can just never, ever plan for it. Never. And it sucks, but it's the reality. So Kyle Parker having to come in and fill in the duties. I think Meade County's on, their third or fourth quarterback this season. Just a complete disaster, and you don't wish this on anybody. Just ask Tim Mattingly a year ago for Central Hardin what he had to go through. He was down to a fifth guy. He has players playing the quarterback position who had no aspiration, had no thought that they were ever going to probably be in that position, in which I guess getting through all of that troublesome, what's the word I'm looking for here? Disastrous 2018 season worked out for them, because they're doing pretty good for themselves this season. But Meade County, I just want to give a quick shout out to them that it sucks. The players on that team, you'll get through this, and maybe Meade County could be the Cinderella story next year, coming off of all these injuries like they have been facing. But they dropped their fourth straight now, dropping them to 2-4. They will play. Meade County they'll play Elizabethtown this week. That is our Blandon Birdwhistle High School football game of the week. The Elizabethtown Panthers, who have looked ever so good, people. They're coming off of a bye week. Their last two contests, E-Town scoring 54 against Thomas Nelson, 61 against Nelson County. They scored 40 against Central, 37 against John. This team is averaging a lot of points right now, and I have a feeling that they're not going to let that up, especially coming off of a bye week. They've had some time to scout out Meade County, and Coach Brown is going to have these boys ready, I have a feeling. 7:30 p.m. kickoff this Friday night, the Blandon Birdwhistle High School football game of the week at Elizabethtown High against Meade County. 7:05 is the pregame, and we are working on a new sound so that we are coming in much more clear during the broadcast. So knock on wood, which I am right now, that happens. We're trying to get some of our technical issues resolved. I know we've had a couple over the past couple of weeks, in which we apologize to you folks who tune in to us each and every Friday night. But just know that we've been working on just having everything better for the broadcast, and I have a feeling you're going to be very satisfied in the near future once we get everything resolved. But until then, I want to thank you for hanging in there and tuning in Friday nights so far here in the football season, which has been fun thus far. Bobby Thompson will be on vacation. He's actually over in Hawaii this week, so I will have Mike Matheson of the News Enterprise filling in. Yes, Mike. You hear him on the show once in a while. He's going to be doing color commentary with me this Friday night for the E-Town and Meade County matchup. And once again, 7:30 p.m. kickoff is when that'll be. 7:05 is the pregame, 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM. And we are also going to be live streaming on ESPN Radio 1061.com. John Hardin. They're coming off of victory 2 Fridays ago, 17-14 over Valley, which, by the way, another Hardin County school beating a Louisville school. I'm just saying, people. We want to make this argument. We want to get in this fight with the Louisville media, which I'm always willing to do that. Look, I grew up in small town Iowa, and when the city thinks they're better than us country boys, us small town folk, I'm ready to fight. Show them that they're not better than us. They may be bigger in population, but they're not bigger in stature. We're ready to take them on. I'm just saying. They may be a little bit faster than us, but we can get by. We can get by in these smaller communities, right? But John Hardin coming away with a victory a couple of Fridays ago against Valley. And now we look ahead to see what John Hardin has remaining on their schedule. They're coming off of a bye week, so this team's looking fresh. Coach Chris Ingstrand is going to have these guys ready. Getting their second victory. They're 2-4 at this point. And this team can still possibly run the table and finish 6-4. Which after this way this season began, and when you're playing teams like Danville, Central Hardin, Elizabethtown, you get a victory over Meade County. Which it seems like John Hardin and Meade County, it seems like John Hardin has figured something out against Meade County. They have made life miserable for Meade County here in recent history. And then you play North Hardin. That's a brutal first half of the schedule. You look at that and you're like, I'm surprised John Hardin even got one victory out of all of that. And believe me, I'm surprised too. Actually, I shouldn't be surprised. With the quarterback issues that Meade County is having right now, on top of it seems like John Hardin has figured something out against Meade County. I'm not exactly totally surprised by that, but you would think after suffering some pretty bad losses in the first 3 weeks that maybe your team emotionally would be kind of down for that game. The way they responded, that's good on them. Good on them. But now John Hardin moving forward will play Moore, Marion County, Spencer County, and Greenwood. All important matchups. And all matchups that I feel like John Hardin can compete in. You look at Moore this Friday night. 2-4. Same record as John Hardin. They've played some tough opponents here in the first half of the season as well. But I think this is a matchup that fits John Hardin. They'll be able to compete. It's going to come down to who can make a big play for the Bulldogs on Friday night. That's what I honestly think it's going to come down to. One or two big plays, either in favor of Moore or in favor of John Hardin. Whoever can make the most big plays is going to come up with that victory. And I'm not saying turnovers either. I'm speaking specifically on the offensive side of the football. Who can make the big play offensively? Then they play Marion County. John Hardin still has on their schedule, who also only has 2 wins on the season. Then they play Spencer County, who, by the way, also only has 2 wins on the season. And then they finished off the 2019 campaign with a Gators club who is looking at 5 victories. So the most complete team they'll have the rest of the way on their schedule, John Hardin, that is Greenwood, who at this point is at 5 victories, which I don't think is going to matter anyway because they're not in the same classification, if I remember right. Yeah, they're not. Greenwood is 5A. So that game at the end of the year does not even matter. These next 3, though, however, do. Moore, Marion County, Spencer County. All teams with 2 victories at this point in the season, just like John Hardin. So if John Hardin can run these next 3 games, get all W's, they're not looking terrible going into the postseason. Even if they lose to Greenwood going into the postseason 5-5, because they would have run the table in their respective district. So Coach Ingstrand will have those boys ready. I just have a feeling. This Friday night could be a good one, as John Hardin will be away at Moore. Trevor Rice with you. This is Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM. I real quick want to check Fort Knox before we go to commercial break, because we do talk Fort Knox. We'll look at LaRue County real quick as well. Fort Knox getting their second victory of the season as they had defeated Sayre, the Spartans, 24-21 on Friday night. So congratulations to the Eagles. We will have them at the end of the season as they take on Caverna November 1st. That'll be our season cap, their regular season cap, before we get to the playoffs. They'll play Seneca still. Fort Knox does this Friday night. Then they'll play Holy Cross out of Louisville. Then they'll play Bethlehem. And then Caverna to wrap up this season. And real quick, I want to check out LaRue County as well, as we're also looking forward to, I'm just saying, October 18th. That's going to be another fun environment, LaRue County and Elizabethtown. Even though at this point, I do think Elizabethtown may have the better team. You just throw everything out. In rivalry games, you throw everything out. Because it seems like when you think you know who a team's or what a team's identity is, it seems like when they get into the rivalry matchup, it doesn't even matter. Case in point, third round of the playoffs last year, one of the best high school football games I've ever witnessed. LaRue County coming back and defeating an E-Town club who just collapsed there at the end. That's the only word I can use to describe what I saw happen. They just collapsed. And LaRue County took advantage, went on to play the fourth round of the playoffs, which they ended up losing last year. But still, what a wonderful story that was. A great game. And I was not even... I guess I was sad that game had to end. That's what I was sad about. But October 18th, LaRue County and Elizabethtown, we are looking forward to that game here in a couple of Fridays. But LaRue County getting a big victory on Friday night, improving to 4-3 overall as they defeated Thomas Nelson by the score of 46-0. They will have a bye week, and then they get ready for Elizabethtown October 18th. Then they wrap up their season with Hart County, who I would think that would be a victory. I think. Russell County, they will play them later this season as well. But Elizabethtown, that is another game we are circling here. Class 3A. Elizabethtown, LaRue County, a big rivalry. The next week, Central Hardin and North Hardin still this month. Man, October football, you have got to love it here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Trevor Rice with you at Radio Trevor Rice on Twitter, Trevor Rice on Share, like me on Facebook as well. When we come back, we're going to wrap up today's show. We're going to talk some college football and get you set for this weekend's activities. It's Heartland Sports Live, ESPN Radio. Final segment of today's Heartland Sports Live. Trevor Rice with you on 106.1 ESPN Radio 1400 AM, and we are live streaming on ESPN Radio 1061.com. Once again, the Blandon Birdwhistle High School football game of the week is happening Friday night at 7:30 p.m. between the Meade County Green Wave and Elizabethtown Panthers. 7:05 is the pregame. And it says, Bobby Thompson, my broadcast partner, typically during the high school football season, is on vacation in Hawaii this week. Mike Matheson is going to be joining me in the booth this Friday night of the News Enterprise, and I'm so glad that Mike is going to be joining me, and it should be a lot of fun. Friday night, hopefully you can join us then here on 106.1 ESPN Radio and ESPN Radio 1061.com. Well, we have spoken about the NFL action that happened yesterday here in the 2.5 hour radius that is Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and Nashville. We have spoken about high school football here in Hardin County. We snuck in LaRue County and Meade County as well. And why not go ahead and continue this football talk? Let's talk college. I'm a big college guy. In fact, I'm going to try really hard to get to that Western Kentucky Army game this Saturday night down in Bowling Green. It should be a very fun environment, I would think. Going to have a bunch of Army guys in there. I come from a military background. In fact, my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my dad, spending decades in the Army in the state of Iowa, so this game is going to have maybe a little more meaning for me just because I know that I grew up with the Army pretty much. So I know there's going to be a lot of emotions running for me because this is the first time I'll get to see the Army Black Knights in person, and they're taking on Western Kentucky, which, by the way, AA Anthony Adkins. Is he going to start Saturday? We're going to find out because I would really like to see if Anthony Atkins starts that game. He is. I know he started a couple of weeks ago. He was able to, or he didn't start. He got into the game a couple of weeks ago because Army had firm control of their matchup. So he had a touchdown, his first collegiate touchdown a couple of Saturdays ago, and I'm really excited to see Army in Western Kentucky this Saturday. So Darren, if you're listening right now, I need you to hook me up with that credential so I can get down there and see this game because I really want to go. That game's going on this Saturday. Join Randy Lee and the crew. 7 p.m. is the kickoff. 6:30 is going to be the pregame show, and you'll be able to catch it right here on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM as well. Western Kentucky, they're coming off of another conference victory as they took on Old Dominion on Saturday, winning 20-3. And just looking at some of the stats for the Hilltoppers on Saturday, Ty Story went 21 of 28, pretty efficient through the air, did have the one INT, but had a touchdown strike, 193 yards through the air. Not a fantastic performance as Western Kentucky really isn't working the football down the field as much as you would think. But still, I mean, efficient passing, you can appreciate 75% through the air. The rushing game, and this is one of the things that I felt like this Hilltopper squad really needed to improve in. Guys Walker, 25 carries on Saturday for $114, averaged 4.6 yards per carry, which is not bad. Had one touchdown on Saturday as well. Receiving game, again, they're utilizing a bunch of wide receivers, which is always a good sign when you can depend on pretty much everybody who's out there as a wide receiver to catch the football and make a play. That's a good sign for this Hilltoppers unit. Jacoro Pearson was the leading receiver on Saturday with 7 receptions, 67 yards through the air. Quinn Jernigan had 2 receptions for 38, and then they just kind of split the ball between a few people. Lucky Jackson out of the backfield had 4 catches for 20 yards on Saturday as well. Guys Walker had 3 catches, not really doing a whole lot with it, 3 yards in total. So, I mean, even though some of the numbers aren't pretty in the yardage category, they're finding a whole bunch of different guys that they can depend to catch the football. Then that's going to be a big thing moving forward for this Hilltoppers program as they look to try to reestablish that identity that they had back in like 2015 when they were putting up 400, 500 yards of offense and just blowing teams out in Conference USA play. They're not there yet, obviously, but 20-3, a victory over Old Dominion, who pretty much just took care of business against Western a year ago, is a good sign, getting that Hilltoppers above the 500 mark. And, man, wouldn't you like to go and play back that season opener again where the Hilltoppers played against Central Arkansas, a team that they were in firm control of there in the fourth quarter, then they just choked it away there at the end. You would love to have that game back and be 4-2 at this point, or are 4-1 at this point, but you can't go back and play it, so now you just got to look ahead. I don't expect Western to win against Army this week, and Army, I think, is a much more talented team at this point. I think Army, who only lost the 3 points to Michigan this season, I think they come down to Bowling Green, and I think they take care of business, dropping the Hilltoppers to 500. Then the Hilltoppers play Charlotte at home. That's a team that I feel like the Western Kentucky can get back on that winning track against, improving to 4-3. Then they play Marshall on the road, which Marshall, I don't know if I've been necessarily impressed by. I know they played a close one with Middle Tennessee, but we'll see. I feel like a lot of these games that Western could possibly get to 6 or 7 victories on the season if they play good, sound defensive football like they did against Old Dominion. I think they can win against Charlotte. I think they'll put up a good fight against Marshall, at least on the defensive side of the football. Offensively, I don't know if they can compete at this point, but we'll see. I think they can beat Florida Atlantic. Obviously, going and playing Arkansas and Southern Miss are going to be tough tasks towards the end of the season. And then Middle Tennessee, you just never know. I think that they can get to 6 victories. 7 victories, I think, is going to be a little more challenging for this unit. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little more challenging just for the fact that I feel like if you're going to do that, you have to beat Charlotte, Marshall, Florida Atlantic, and Middle Tennessee. Because I don't see this Western unit defeating Southern Mississippi or Arkansas at this point, or Army this week. Which that's a tough out-of-conference schedule, isn't it? Central Arkansas out of the Southland Conference being your easiest matchup, and then you play Army, West Point, you play Arkansas and Southern Mississippi. That's kind of a brutal non-conference schedule this season for the Hilltoppers. I don't know if I like that one. Kentucky, they're coming off of a bye week. They will play this Saturday, Arkansas. Speaking of Arkansas, 7:30 p.m. is the kickoff this Saturday as the Wildcats try to get back to the 500 mark. They lost to South Carolina 24-7 a couple of, I guess just over a week ago. And now they look to try to get back on their winning way. They play Arkansas, and then they play Georgia. At Georgia, number 3 Georgia, by the way. That's going to be a tough one for the Wildcats. And Louisville, under Coach Satterfield, getting their first conference victory as they defeat the Boston College Eagles 41-39. That was a high-scoring game, wasn't it? Looking at some stats from Saturday from the Cardinals, Malik Cunningham, 13 of 18, had 288 yards passing, had 1 touchdown. Evan Conley, 10 of 16, 140 yards. As they're still trying to figure out the quarterback situation up there in Louisville. Javian Hawkins had 25 carries on the ground for the Cardinals, 172 yards, 6.9 average, 1 touchdown on Saturday. Malik Cunningham had 6 carries for 43, had 1 score as well. Hall with 11 carries, having 1 touchdown and 23 yards on Saturday. As the receiving numbers, Seth Dawkins, 170 yards through the air, 6 catches and a touchdown on Saturday. Chatarius Atwell had 8 receptions for 110 yards. Des Fitzpatrick having some big numbers as well, 5 catches, 108 yards. And then everybody else was just kind of just single catches from that point forward. You have your Seth Dawkins, Chatarius Atwell, and Des Fitzpatrick, all your main receivers, in which those guys have typically put up big numbers as it is. But I think the offense is starting to figure something out as this Cardinals team hasn't looked the best in a lot of ball games this season, but they are 3-2, people. So you got to respect the fact they're at least above 500 at this point. They would have loved to say that a year ago. They really didn't have a chance last year, as that just turned into one sloppy season. A couple of tough ones coming up, though, for Louisville as we look to the rest of this season. They play Wake Forest this Saturday, 7:30 p.m. on the road, number 19 in the country. Then number 2 Clemson comes to town. That team has been vulnerable. In fact, a part of me, and we're going to have to see how they play against Wake Forest this Saturday, a part of me wants to say upset alert. Does Clemson overlook Louisville maybe? They've been playing like garbage for the most part. Clemson has. They have not been playing sound football. Offensively, they've looked like a train wreck. Defensively, their defense has given up just enough points that they're allowing teams to keep these games interesting. So maybe with a new coaching staff, maybe this is the change that Louisville's looking for, a possible upset. Now, am I saying that it's going to happen? Probably not. But as somebody who gets to talk about sports, isn't it fun to think about it at the very least? I'm just saying. Next 3 weeks, I think you can attach the word brutal to this Cardinals schedule. In fact, if you get a victory out of these next 3 games, impressive season. Number 19, Wake Forest. Number 2, Clemson. And you host number 20, Virginia. Then you play Miami, NC State, Syracuse, and Kentucky to close out the season. The rest of the season, now that I look at it, is kind of challenging. Just a little bit. And the ACC, who everybody was trashing on, the teams aren't very good. Well, I mean, they do have 3 ranked teams coming up that the Cardinals have to face. I'm sure they would like to say that, those teams aren't very good, but I mean, they're ranked for a reason, right? Trevor Rice with you, and you can follow me on social media at Radio Trevor Rice on Twitter, Trevor Rice on Dash Air, like me on Facebook. You can also go back to the Apple Podcast link that I have on my Twitter account at Radio Trevor Rice, as I will have my guy down in Bowling Green, JB, James Brown, will upload the show and have you guys ready to go for tomorrow, hopefully, when this show is uploaded and you can listen back to anything maybe you wanted to hear this hour as far as NFL action between the Bengals, Titans, and Colts talk that I had in segment 1. High school football here in Hardin County, also mentioning LaRue County and Meade County last segment. College football this segment. And real quick, let's just go through the calendar one more time. Friday night will be... And in the meantime, we're going to try to play some MLB postseason games this week as well, so stay tuned for that during the week. But things that I know are hard set. Friday night, high school football, E-Town, Meade County, Friday night, 7:30 p.m. kickoff, 7:05 is the pregame. You can join Mike Matheson and myself, Trevor Rice, for that call. That, again, Friday night, the Blaine and Bird Whistle High School football game of the week. Saturday is going to be college football, 7 p.m. kickoff, Western Kentucky and Army going at it. 6:30 will be the pregame. Join Randy Lee then. And then on Sunday, as we look to the Tennessee Titans, I don't know if we want to look at the Tennessee Titans right now. They have not looked pretty here in recent weeks, coming off of that 14-7 loss. They will be in action on Sunday on the road in Denver, the Mile High City, taking on the Broncos. An afternoon game, 4:25 p.m. Join Mike Keith and Dave McGinnis. That'll do it for me, though. I will be back next Monday. It's Heartland Sports Live, 5 until 6. Hopefully you can join me then here on 106.1 ESPN Radio. Have a fantastic sports week.